All right, be honest with me for a second, or at least be honest with yourself for a second. Have you ever been in a discussion or an argument here with someone, and somewhere within the first few minutes, or maybe a little bit beyond that, a little voice in the back of your head goes, "Hey, wait, I think I might be wrong here." And what did you do? Well, you kept arguing. Of course you did. Hey, look, I do it too. We all do it. Or wait, here's another one maybe. Maybe you had a plan, a good plan, and then something changed. The client moved the deadline, the budget got cut, your flight got canceled, whatever it was, okay? Instead of adjusting, you just froze. You stared at the problem as if you looked at it long enough, it would fix itself. Folks, I'm gonna tell you right now, that's not a personality problem. So your brain has this executive function called cognitive flexibility. And when it goes offline, you freeze, you dig in, you argue past the point where you know you're wrong. And most people have no idea it's running their lives. Your System 1 brain is on autopilot. Hi, I'm Alan Stafford, and today we're going to basically trigger a manual override so you can reclaim your focus and think sharper. So in this video, I'm going to show you why your brain actually prefers to be rigid and what rigidity is costing you in your relationships, your career, and your stress levels. And then I'll give you 3 mental models you can start using tonight to become a genuinely flexible thinker. And no, flexible thinking does not mean being a pushover. So stick around, we'll get to all of that. There's an old fable about an oak tree and a willow tree. So humor me for a second here, okay? See, the oak is massive, strong, proud. It stands against the wind and doesn't move. The willow, hey, it's soft, thin branches. It sways with every breeze. Let's say a hurricane comes along. The oak, well, it snaps in half because it couldn't bend. The willow, well, still standing, didn't break because it didn't fight the wind. It moved with it. See, most people think being mentally strong means being the oak tree, having a firm opinion, sticking to the plan, never backing down. But the research, well, that says quite the opposite. Real mental strength is the ability to bend without breaking. That's cognitive flexibility. Think of it as mental yoga. So what is cognitive flexibility? See, it's a set of executive functions that give you 3 specific abilities. First, the ability to shift perspective, to look at a problem from someone else's point of view, or to genuinely argue against your own opinion. Not as a debate trick, but as a thinking tool. And second, the ability to adapt to change. When your plan falls apart, you don't keep running the same play, you adapt and you keep moving. And third, the ability to hold 2 opposing ideas in your head at the same time. See, this person is being annoying right now, and I still love this person. 2 opposing thoughts. Both things are true, but a rigid brain only picks one. A flexible brain holds both. So here's what this looks like in real life. The rigid thinker says there's only one right way to do this. And the flexible thinker says there are multiple ways to solve this problem. The rigid thinker says, if I fail, I'm a failure. And the flexible thinker says, if I fail, I need a different approach. The rigid thinker says, this change ruins everything. And the flexible thinker says, this is annoying, but I can work around it. And the rigid thinker says, you're either with me or against me. And the flexible thinker says, we disagree on this, but we align on other things. See, same situations, completely different outcomes. The only difference is what's happening between the ears. So if flexibility is so useful, why don't we do it? Well, because rigidity is sneaky. It doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as, well, common sense, strong convictions, or just being realistic. Let me show you 3 traps you're probably falling into right now. Trap 1 is catastrophizing. And I know people who do this, and you probably do as well. They say something like, if I don't get this job, my career is over. Does that sound familiar? That is called catastrophizing. So your brain takes one data point and writes an entire horror movie out of it. I mean, you didn't just not get a callback. Your career is finished. You'll never work again. You'll be living under a bridge by Thursday. So here's what's actually happening, folks. See, your System 1 brain, the fast one, the autopilot, basically saw a threat and filled in the blanks with the worst possible outcomes. It didn't wait for evidence. It didn't check the data. It just panicked, because panic is faster than analysis. So the cost? Anxiety. You're not reacting to what actually happened. You're reacting to a story your brain wrote in about 3 seconds. And the more you let the story play, the more your brain tends to believe it. And trap two is confirmation bias lock. And this one is everywhere, folks. And it's the most dangerous because it feels like being smart, okay? You form an opinion, and then you only consume information that proves you're already right. You follow the people who agree with you, you share the articles that support your position, and you ignore, dismiss, or attack anything that challenges it. So your brain is doing this on purpose. Agreement gives you a little, well, we'll say dopamine hit. It feels good to be right. And disagreement, on the other hand, triggers a threat response. Literally the same part of your brain that activates when someone swings a fist at you. So you build an information echo chamber, and you call it research, or you call it doing your due diligence. But it's not research, it's shopping for confirmation. And the cost? Well, you stop learning. Your mental models get outdated, and eventually you get blindsided by information you refused to look at. And trap three is the should trap. See, people should drive better. My boss should be more fair. This shouldn't be happening to me. Every time you say should, you're picking a fight with reality. And I need you to hear this clearly. Reality is undefeated. It is never lost. It will not lose to you. So should thinking is your brain demanding that the world match a mental model that only exists inside your head. It's arguing with what is instead of adapting to what's next. And the cost here? Chronic frustration. You burn through your cognitive energy fighting things you can't change, folks. And while you're busy being outraged that things aren't the way they should be, you're missing the opportunities sitting right in front of you. So here's the part where I explain why this happens. Not to give you an excuse, but so you stop blaming yourself for something that is literally baked into your hardware. See, your brain craves efficiency. It wants to spend as little energy as possible on every decision. And rigid thinking is cheap. It's fast, it runs on autopilot, and it gives you comments like, I already know the answer. I already have my opinion. Done. Moving on. Now, flexible thinking is expensive. It requires your prefrontal cortex to wake up, override the autopilot, and do the hard work of considering new information, entertaining alternative perspectives, holding contradictions. There's even a name for it, the switch cost. Every time your brain shifts from one perspective to another, from one task to another, it burns metabolic energy. And that's real calories being spent. So when someone tells you to just be more open-minded, they're basically asking you to voluntarily run your brain in hard mode. Your brain, well, it doesn't want to do that. Not because you're stubborn, but because it's trying to conserve resources. So this is not a character flaw per se. It's a feature of your neural architecture. But here's the good news, folks. Features, they can be upgraded. All right, now that you understand the problem and why your brain does it, let's fix it. I've got 3 tools for you. Each one is designed to re-engage your prefrontal cortex and pull you out of basically rigid autopilot. Tool 1 is reframing. This one is the foundation. It's called cognitive reappraisal, but I like to call it the camera lens, okay? Here's the idea behind that. You can't always change what happened, but you can always change the angle you're watching it from. So let's say you just lost your job, okay? The rigid frame, I got fired, I'm a failure, my career is done. Does that sound familiar? See, but that's one camera angle, and it's a bad one. The flexible frame, you might say something, I just got handed a mandatory sabbatical to go find a better career. Same event, different frame, completely different emotional response. Now, I'm not talking about toxic positivity here. I'm saying just think happy. I'm not saying just think happy thoughts. This is about recognizing that the first story your brain tells you is not the only story. It's usually not even the most accurate story. It's just the fastest one. Reframing literally changes which brain region activates. So it shifts processing from the amygdala, where the threat lives, to the prefrontal cortex, where the analysis lives. So you're not lying to yourself, you're choosing which camera angle to watch the replay from. So the pause technique for this is, before you react to anything, ask yourself one question. What's another way to see this? And that's it. That one question wakes up your prefrontal cortex. All right, tool 2 is yes and. Now this one is borrowed from 2 places you wouldn't expect to overlap: improv comedy and clinical psychology, specifically dialectical behavioral therapy. And the concept, well, it's simple. So you replace but with and. Watch what happens here. I want to exercise, but I'm tired. Kind of feel that there? There's a wall in that sentence. But creates a dead end. Your brain picks a side, usually the side that requires less effort. So you skip the workout. Now try this. I am tired and I could do 10 minutes of stretching. Feel the difference? The and there. The and doesn't make you choose. It makes you hold both truths at the same time. You're tired, that's real, and you can still move your body. That's also real. But is a cognitive dead end. It tells your brain there's a conflict that needs a winner and forces your brain to hold two truths simultaneously. And that is, by definition, cognitive flexibility in action. Here's another one. Your boss criticizes your project. Rigid version is, my boss is wrong, but I can't say anything because they'll fire me. See, you're stuck in that moment. The flexible version is, my boss has a valid concern about the timeline, and my approach to the creative direction is still strong. Now you can have a real conversation instead of basically having a silent standoff. So the pause technique for this is, for one day, just one day, catch yourself saying but. Every time you hear it, come out of your mouth, swap it for and. Pay attention to what happens to the tension in your chest when you do this. It's a small change that rewires how you process conflict. All right, and tool 3 is Steelmanning. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you've heard me talk about the straw man fallacy. That's when you take someone's argument, weaken it on purpose, and then attack the weak version. See, politicians do it constantly. Pundits, well, they do it in their sleep. Steelmanning is the opposite, however. So instead of weakening the other side's argument, you make it stronger. You try to articulate their position so clearly, so fairly, that they would say, yes, that's exactly what I mean. So why would you do that? Well, because you can't genuinely disagree with something you don't fully understand. See, most arguments aren't actually about ideas. They're about two people attacking cartoon versions of each other's positions. Steelmanning forces your brain to stretch into unfamiliar territory. It's the cognitive equivalent of a deep hamstring stretch. Uncomfortable, a little awkward, but it builds range of motion you didn't have before. And here's the connection to everything we talk about on this channel. This is a core think sharper skill. It's how you go from being a passive consumer of arguments to being an active analyst. Referees don't take sides. They understand both playbooks. All right, so here's the pause technique for this. Next time you disagree with someone, before you fire back, say their argument back to them in your own words, okay? If they don't say exactly, you haven't listened hard enough. Try again. All right, here's your assignment, and it's a small one, okay? I'm not asking you to overhaul your personality by Friday. This week, what I want you to do is catch yourself saying, I have to. I have to go to work. I have to deal with this. I have to call my mother. And when you hear it, change one word. I choose to. I choose to go to work because it funds the life I'm building. I choose to deal with this because I want the outcome on the other side. I choose to call my mother because the relationship matters to me. See, same actions, but I have to put you in a cage. I choose to put you in the driver's seat. Now, that one word moves you from victim to architect. And that right there is the foundation of flexible thinking. See, flexibility is not about having no spine. It's about having a spine that bends so it doesn't break. All right, so if you want to keep training your brain to think like this, I put together a free download called the Flexibility Reset. It's a one-page pocket card with all 3 tools from the video we're talking about: reframing, the yes and technique, and Steelmanning. It's basically a quick reference, fits in your wallet or on your desk. The link, I put it down in the description for you, okay? And if you want to go deeper into how rigid thinking patterns get exploited by the media, by marketers, by people who basically want to keep you reactive instead of rational, check out this video right here. Hey, I'm Alan Stafford. Think sharper, my friend. Thanks for watching.